Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewel you come from. You da you and me da me. But guess what? All are we the one. See what I mean? Jump and shout all over the nation. We're breaking out with a new creation.
Janine Sylvestre is the Honorary Consul of Belize in Florida. Sylvester recently sat down with her Belize Watch team to talk about the work she has been doing over the years to represent Belizeans living in Florida in promoting trade, investment, and tourism to Belize. Sylvester came to national prominence in 1987 when she won the title of Miss World Belize. She has since gone on to serve her country in various capacities within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Sylvester told our team her parents, especially her dad, instilled a strong sense of patriotism and family values within her. We will have that conversation after we hear a word from our partners: Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, the Barry, Shell Belize, and the National Gas Company.
But what is the National Gas Company really? And how does it acquire transparently priced supplies of liquefied petroleum gas for the people of this country?
First of all, there was a new law written to regulate the National Gas Company. The process starts with open and transparent tendering, where LPG companies, Belizean or foreign, can compete to supply the country of Belize with liquefied petroleum gas. Once the supply agreement has been concluded and delivery details agreed, marine gas carriers arrive to offload well over 1 million gallons of LPG on a single stop. Prior to offloading the ship, LPG is quality checked by an independent fuel auditing third party to ensure that the quality being received is acceptable for use in the country of Belize. With the modern storage infrastructure installed by the National Gas Company, Belize has more than 1.6 million gallons of LPG storage available. This volume provides the country more than the monthly national consumption, thereby providing a crucial buffer in this era of climate change and supply disruptions.
The National Gas Company of Belize, fueling Belize forward.
Since 2008, the Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust has created opportunities for Belizeans to develop themselves and their communities. The trust employs tools that are intuitive, collaborative, and accessible so that every Belizean is empowered to achieve their full potential. Over 200,000 Belizeans have been impacted because of our various initiatives. The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, empowering Belizeans of today to create the Belize of tomorrow.
We are the Barry, offering you great products, good service, and of course, the lowest prices in the entire country. Visit us in Belize City, Belmopan, San Ignacio Cayo, Orange, and now in San Pedro, La Isla Bonita. The Barry. Get more? Be less.
Shell V-Power, with 3 times more cleaning and friction-reducing molecules. Go well! Go Shell!
It don't matter what part of the jewel you come from.
I have the honor and privilege of talking with Belize's Honorary Consul to the Miami area, Janine Sylvestre. Janine, I've known Janine for many, many, many years, right? As a matter of fact, her father, the late Louis Sylvester, was once a minister of government, and I had the honor and privilege of working with him some years as chief broadcasting officer. So I've known Janine for quite some time. Janine, it's always good to see you, and it's always the same Janine I see.
Thank you, Renee. Thanks for having me here today. I appreciate it.
Janine, let's look a bit at you so that we can get to know who Janine Sylvestre really is. But we want to hear, I know who she is, but it's good for us to hear it from you yourself.
Well, Renee, as you said, I grew up all my life in Belize, and I have known you as far as I can remember, growing up in Southside, and you were always somebody that I respected and I admired, and you have seen me grow throughout the years. And what do you think that you have seen?
I've seen a great lady. I've seen you blossom into a great lady, the great lady that you are, right? And I've seen you overcome all your difficulties and still keep smiling. And so it's good to have you here and to be able to have a one-on-one discussion with you again, because we have had one-on-one discussions on tape before. But this is Belize Watch, and well, you know, I try to make sure that your life is brought out, the story of your life is brought out. So you went to school in Belize City. Let's go back to those days, those early days in Belize City when you were going to school, which school you attended, and some of the experiences that you went through while going to school.
Well, we, as I said, grew up on Albert and Dean Street. It was my grandmother's house, my mother's mother, and my father's mother lived on Dean. No, she was on Albert as well, about a block away by Wesley Church. And I have very fond memories of going to St. Catherine's Elementary School, where, you know, practically all my friends were going. We had a simple life, and I miss the days of Belize back then where life was simple. You know, you went to school, you studied. There was no internet. In fact, sometimes we had to do our homework with candlelight because we didn't have electricity. But the little and simple things were appreciated.
Life was very cool and tranquil in Belize City in those old days. I remember as a boy too, a young man we used to boast that we could walk from one end of Belize City to the next, and nobody would bother you. The most that you would get is, young man, you want something to eat, or you're hungry or thirsty or whatever while you're walking the streets of Belize City. That's the most interference you would get.
Yeah, my sisters, there are three of us, Marlena, myself, and Lauren. She's the youngest, and I'm the middle. We would roam around Southside by ourselves, you know, buying Ideal, buying chips, and unaccompanied. And there was never a moment that we felt in danger. In fact, the neighbors were always looking out for us. And there were great times. I really remember fondly my childhood. And I think I'm nostalgic about the South Side that I remember. And I was just in Belize last week, and I spent some time in Belize. And every time I drive down Albert Street, I remember those days, and I remember the beautiful colonial buildings that are quickly disappearing, and it makes me sad because it's part of our history. You know, the beautiful wooden colonial buildings, which is what I grew up in. And I would love to see some kind of restoration effort for these wooden buildings that are fastly disappearing.
I can remember when the Memorial Park, for example, was being renovated. And I can remember going there during the renovation of it and looking at the benches that were still there. And I asked the question, what are we going to do with those benches? All those benches are historic. They were donated by families, and the families' names were inscribed on those benches. And I thought that those benches would have been put back, and they were not.
Oh, that's very sad.
Yeah, so that is a disappointment that stayed with me. And when you mentioned old buildings just now, it reminds me of how often we don't appreciate where we came from, and we don't teach where we came from and what happened to get us to where we are.
Yeah, it would be good if we could have some kind of preservation effort, maybe through a committee that works along with one of the ministries like tourism, to really ensure that that past is preserved through our architecture, through culture, and so that we could have that. We go to other islands like Bahamas and Barbados, and they're intact. They're and it's part of the attraction that tourists go there is to see these beautiful colonial buildings restored and beautifully well kept. And I think that it could be an attraction for tourists to come to Belize, to have these buildings looking lovely.
I don't know why it hasn't happened yet, but for example, let's use one example of Southside Belize City, since we're talking about Southside. Where the City Council offices are presently located, that was once the Central Market, if you can remember, right? And then right in front of it was the Mule Park. Could you imagine if a tourist visits and they would see the old picture of what that was, the mules parked and the old market that was there, and you have a big poster with that there and said, this is what this was like in the year, so on, so on. So, it adds value to the tourism.
That was a beautiful market. And, then you look at the post office. I'm glad that they did some kind of semblance of what it used to look like, but it's still it's not the same. No. And then, sadly, the Chateau building in Memorial Park just burnt. So we really have to take care of these buildings, the wiring, the electrical wiring, otherwise they will burn down, and that would be the end. Yeah,
and even if you replace the buildings, I think, by replacing these buildings, if you put a picture of what was there before, so people can appreciate what was there, and compare it with the present, and so we preserve our history, and that's what I was getting at.
I see. Yes, that's important.
It's important. Now, after St. Catherine's Academy, let's go back to you. After St. Catherine's Academy, what happened?
Well, I graduated from St. Catherine Academy and Fort Farm, and I wanted to pursue a career in journalism, funny enough. And there was no programs like that in Belize.
No programs. Anyway, go ahead.
So I came to Florida, and I attended Florida International University and got a degree. I moved away from journalism only because you had to learn the technical parts of journalism, which is behind the scene cameras and the wiring and all of that. And I never had a mind for technical things. So I branched off into public relations, and I did a minor in hospitality management.
So, and hospitality management would be connected with tourism today, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, and I have developed an intense love for cuisine and cooking and baking. So it served me well.
After FIU, you went back to Belize, or you stayed over here?
After FIU, I did go back to Belize. I never really wanted to stay here. I always wanted to go home, and I got a job at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as a foreign service officer, and in 1992. And I was so excited because I believe I developed a passion for Belize from my father.
Yes.
There was nothing better in this world than Belize for him. And he traveled extensively around the world because of his job. But for him, Belize was the only thing that really mattered.
Okay. That is so.
And I believe that I developed that patriotism and an intense love for Belize from him, from both parents, but especially from him. And so I was ecstatic to start that job because I knew that I would be serving the country and at the same time, you know, visiting different parts of the world. So shortly after I started the Foreign Service job, maybe a year later, I was given the opportunity to go to Chile to do a master's in international studies.
Excellent.
And I took the opportunity. I didn't want to leave Belize, and I really wasn't interested in studying again because I was tired of, I needed a break. But I took the opportunity and I don't regret it. I did a master's in a second language. You know, Spanish was always part of our family because my grandmother was Mexican. But, you know, it's different speaking it informally and then taking some classes at school than doing a postgraduate degree. So, but I did it, and I don't regret it. It was quite a challenge.
Now, let us pause a little bit and pay tribute to your father, because I think a lot of us, and especially our young people, don't know who your father was, right? And your father is responsible for many things in Belize. I think even the provision of the first electricity generation, the establishment of cooperatives, and different things. I mean, let's recollect what you know about your father.
You probably know more than me, Rene. I just remember a very simple man, a man who loved his family and who loved his people. He was a man of the people. And I recall, you know, he really tried his best to keep away his family from politics. But there were times when we went to his rallies and what have you, and I would remember he would be in Kikoka or San Pedro, and he didn't have on a shoe. He didn't have on shoes. He would give his, you know, he would go campaigning, he would give his speeches with no shoes. And he was able to sit down with whoever in his village and have a drink and talk about their family, talk about their life. And he did it because he really cared. And he cared about improving their lives through, like you say, cooperatives and electricity and infrastructure. And this is what he offered. You know, my mom was just remembering that he never asked anybody for their vote. When he went to visit them, it was to talk about their lives and his plan. You know, he would say, I am planning to, you know, fix the street or to build a school or to bring this and to bring that. And he never asked for their vote. They just voted for him. And as you know, for 30 consecutive years, he was in the House. Yes.
He was a part of the pre-colonial government with the self-independent. When we got self-government, he was part of the first cabinet after self-government. He, like I said, went right through to independence. You know, what I remember of him is this famous toothpick. Right? He would always have this toothpick. It goes from one side to the other side, and you almost never see him without that toothpick. You know, and the name that he was known as, you don't call him minister or honorable or something, you call him cuz. Right? So here comes cuz. Cuz, because if he sees you, he would say, hey cuz, what's going on? Hey cuz, come and do this. Hey cuz, come here. You know, that was his signature, you know. And I can remember I was chief broadcasting officer, and he was a minister of local government and broadcasting, especially leading up to the 84 elections, December 84 elections. He would say, Chief, what you doing today? I said, Minister, I'm okay. I'm going to Benkavi, let's go with me or whatever. And I would go along with him because he would make the presentation and say, I have the fire chief here, I have the chief broadcasting officer. Like he was proud to involve his heads of departments into the work he was doing. Yes. You know, he was a unique character, you know, a lot of things. And you know, another thing too that I could say, and I know you could say this too. He stood up for what he believed in. If he believed us, so that's it. He had principles. He knew, and he stood up for what he believed in. You know?
I was just gonna say that, Renee, that came to my mind, that he was a man of principles, and if it compromised his popularity, it didn't matter. He stood by his principles, and he was unafraid. Yes. He was, even back then, he was a brave man. He was unafraid of anything. He stood by his word. If he told you something and if he promised you something, he would live up to it. And I hope that, you know, that I could follow in those footsteps, in the sense that I think that if anything I would like to have him impart on me and my sisters is that we are principled and with high morals and values, a good value system.
Yes, he surely was that type of person, you know.
We will be back with much more of our conversation with Honorary Consul of Belize in Florida, Janine Sylvestre, after we hear from our partners. A reminder that the Ministry of Tourism and Diaspora Relations partnered with us to make this show possible.
The future is ours. This is Belize. We welcome you back home, if only for a visit. The government of Belize is committed to mobilizing a productive partnership with you, the Diaspora. With that in mind, the government has created the Diaspora Relations Unit within the Ministry of Tourism and Diaspora Relations. The general objectives of the unit are to raise Belize's profile on the international stage, grow the economy by increasing exports and attracting inward investments, promote trade, provide information and support to Belizeans abroad, encourage expertise exchange and identify opportunities for philanthropy. Developing an effective relationship with each of you will offer a platform from which to showcase Belize's excellence and generate much-needed exchange of ideas and resources. Our vision: an inclusive and participatory Belizean society, where every Belizean contributes to national development and shares in the benefits thereof, notwithstanding place of residency. Composition of the unit: Ambassador for Diaspora Relations, non-resident, Senior Liaison Officer, Liaison Officer, Secretary, Office Assistant. Knowing and understanding you is crucial to engaging effectively. You must be involved and included in the development of our country. We will engage you through our registry, online outreach, other initiatives, and awareness campaigns tailored to bringing you back home while enjoying the benefits offered. Empowering our diaspora includes mobilizing the transfer of skills and resources. Government will empower this process by introducing special measures and programs in different fields of expertise. Dissemination of information is key and serves to heighten awareness of various products and services. Our website is one such example of empowering our Belizeans abroad. Through the website, valuable information will be shared worldwide with you, the members of the diaspora. Maintaining the connection is widely regarded as important for the development of our country. Staying connected will give you access to regularly updated news, relevant resources, learning and funding opportunities. We encourage you to stay connected to your home country by participating in programs designed to facilitate diaspora engagement. The interaction we have with you is only going to increase as technology and communications allow you to play a role without returning home. In addition to remittances, you have contributed generously to the Belizean community by donating food, clothing, education, and medical supplies. The Diaspora Relations Unit is committed to maintaining active connections with you as we continue to create positive changes in our country. We are always here for you. Visit our website at belizediaspora.bz or email us at diaspora.relations@tourism.gov.bz.
But what is the National Gas Company really? And how does it acquire transparently priced supplies of liquefied petroleum gas for the people of this country?
First of all, there was a new law written to regulate the National Gas Company. The process starts with open and transparent tendering, where LPG companies, Belizean or foreign, can compete to supply the country of Belize with liquefied petroleum gas. Once the supply agreement has been concluded and delivery details agreed, marine gas carriers arrive to offload well over 1 million gallons of LPG on a single stop. Prior to offloading the ship, LPG is quality checked by an independent fuel auditing third party to ensure that the quality being received is acceptable for use in the country of Belize. With the modern storage infrastructure installed by the National Gas Company, Belize has more than 1.6 million gallons of LPG storage available. This volume provides the country more than the monthly national consumption, thereby providing a crucial buffer in this era of climate change and supply disruptions.
The National Gas Company of Belize, fueling Belize forward.
Since 2008, the Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust has created opportunities for Belizeans to develop themselves and their communities. The trust employs tools that are intuitive, collaborative, and accessible so that every Belizean is empowered to achieve their full potential. Over 200,000 Belizeans have been impacted because of our various initiatives. The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, empowering Belizeans of today to create the Belize of tomorrow.
We are Barry, offering you great products, good service, and of course, the lowest prices in the entire country. Visit us in Belize City, Belmopan, San Ignacio Cayo, Orange, and now in San Pedro, La Isla Bonita. Barry. Get more? Be less.
Shell V-Power, with 3 times more cleaning and friction-reducing molecules. Go well! Go Shell!
It don't matter what part of the jewel they come from.
I remember roundabouts. I remember a discussion we had with him, and he says, let's do roundabouts. And that was before Belize had its first roundabout, talking about the one at the entrance by Palote, right? And he was advocating for a roundabout because the feeling was that traffic light should go there or something like that. And he said, no, roundabout. And I noticed that trend has been followed for quite some time. But I think that concept was really introduced in my mind by him.
And you know
at
what?
Least to me.
Absolutely. And you know what? He was visionary, if I might say so myself. He was a man of vision. But what I remember the most is his sense of humor.
Oh, yeah.
He never took himself too seriously. And he was always jovial and laughing. And I remember when he was Minister of Communications, and there were difficulty where the electricity would go out, and he was called the Minister of Blackout at one point. And he must have been under a great deal of stress, but he never showed it. He would come home, and he would sit on his couch, and he would put on Bugs Bunny and the cartoons and what have you, and he would sit there, and he would be chuckling, and life would be good. And that's how he handled his stress.
Yeah. He knew when it was work and when it was time to relieve that stress from work.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I'm happy that I have this opportunity to talk to you a bit about him because, we all knew him well. And we know, too, that he was so principled that when his party did what started to go away that he did not like, he just said, I am gone, because you guys are moving from what I feel was the way we were all going. Because I can remember him telling me that, and so he said, I gone and I going here,
He loved his party. The time the PUP, he really loved. He identified with that because he was there for 30 years. He was one of the youngest members of parliament. But unfortunately, when there were crossroads in terms of where the country should go, and he firmly believed that that's not where the country should have gone. There was a battle of ideology.
It was an ideological battle.
It was an ideology.
Left and right battle.
It was not at all personal, because he truly loved his colleagues and the party and what it stood for, but it was an ideological battle that he couldn't fathom seeing himself being a part of.
Yes, that's true. I think I still conserve a copy of the letter he wrote.
Yes. Excellent.
Yeah, 'cause he wrote a letter explaining his points of view.
I have that letter too.
Okay. So we know what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, hey, Louis Cos, rest in peace. Okay.
We miss you. We miss you, Dad.
Yes. So it's like I say, it's a privilege to be able to exchange this with you, and it's really, I'm really happy that I had the pleasure and the honor of working with such a distinguished person like Louis Sylvestre.
Some people don't know who he really was, and I think it's great that you brought him up.
Yes,
Thank you.
We did that.
Thank you.
Let's get back to you now, Janine. So you left. You are now in Chile. You come back to Belize. I think that's where we left off, right?
Yes. I came back to Belize after I graduated from my master's program in Chile, and actually I came back before I graduated because I had to do my master's, and I chose the topic of the Anglo-Belize Guatemala issue, and I took the subject of trade and investment. Most papers had been done on the legal aspect, and I thought that that's been covered very well, but nothing on trade and investment. And I always felt at the time that, and I still believe that, the interaction and the exchange of goods and services between our peoples is what will overcome a lot of the hostility between the two countries. And they will be taught what they will be taught by their government, and we will stand firm in what is right for Belize. But at the end of the day, it's the people from Melchor and on Belize's side, on Guatemala's side, that really, they dictate in the day what's going on with trade and services. That's their livelihood. And I think that's really what helps to overcome the stigma attached to it.
So that was the main focus of your thesis, right? Yeah, that was the main focus of your thesis.
And I went back, I did a great deal of research in archives, and I interviewed giants like Ambassador Assad Schuman. I think I interviewed Prime Minister Price at the time, Courtney, Minister Musa, Minister Barrow. I went to the archives, so I think I was very well equipped to complete it.
And did you circulate that paper enough, or it was just a thesis you did and it was placed on a shelf?
Well, it's in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it's also online. So, you can find it online.
Okay, very good. Where can I find it online?
Well, it was published by Belize Natural Light, and I think that it's still published by them. Mr. Tony Ratt told me that I can at any time publish it myself, and I'm in the process of looking into that. But I do need to update it because many things have happened since 1994 was when I completed it.
And after 1994, what happened next? Where did you go?
I was posted in the Embassy of Belize in Washington, D.C.
And how was that experience?
It was wonderful. I was under, I think it was Ambassador Murphy, James Murphy, and he was he was a wonderful ambassador and mentor to me. I will always look very fondly at, remember my time under his stewardship. I did some work with the Organization of American States, and you know, I was part of that process for a while, and enjoyed being in a different place. Yeah. I didn't enjoy the cold, but it was a good experience overall.
So when the snow came, you tried to escape it, right?
Yes, I wasn't there for much time. I think I was there maybe 2 years.
And after those 2 years?
Well, then we go back to my dad. He then got back into politics.
Yes, I remember when he got back into politics. Yeah.
In 1998, I think it was.
After that, let's continue. I'm listening with a lot of interest here. Go ahead.
After that, I moved to Florida. That's where my life in Florida started in 1999, I think it was.
And what attracted you to Florida?
Its proximity to Belize. Okay. And I had already studied here, so familiarity.
And then, of course, coming to Florida, then you started a family. But did you start it in Belize or here in Florida?
No. I was single for a long time, and I did, I focused on my new career, which was real estate and different things that I was doing. I actually started working with the free trade area of the Americas. They were based in Miami, and then I went to Panama with them, and then I moved back to Miami.
And moving back to Miami, you continued doing real estate for a while, right? I
continued doing real estate until I was appointed Honorary Consul of Belize in Florida.
What year were you appointed Honorary Consul?
2009.
2009.
Yes.
And that's approximately 13 years ago?
Yeah.
Something like 13, 14 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah. So how has it been for you as Honorary Consul of Belize? When you learned of the appointment, how did you feel, and what did you think you needed to do?
I was, again, very proud and ecstatic that once again I could be linked to Belize in a way that I could be serving my country in some way. So I was excited, but I knew that I wanted to do more than just, issue visas or whatever. I wanted to have an official presence in Florida, because it's not just Miami. I represent the whole of the state of Florida. Yes. So there was no office. There was no budget or anything. I operated the honorary consul from my real estate office, and there was no filing system. I had to create. It was a ground up kind of operation.
Yeah. So you had to create your own database and everything.
I had to create everything. I knew that a very important part of my job was to connect with the diaspora, and I didn't have one email for anybody in Florida, and so I took the task of starting to create a database from nothing. And I realized from that experience that I love ground up challenges, creating something out of nothing. And so through events that we had with the Belizeans, we slowly started creating a database that today is about 5,000. We have 10,000 total, but without email. So we're right now in the process of calling everybody on that database, trying to get their, we're trying to get their emails. We have their phone numbers, but no emails. So I think the most important part of any job, and if we don't have a database, we can't. And we have a newsletter, that's been running for the past, I would say, 10 years, and it's been slowly growing, and we have a growing readership. And the purpose of that newsletter, Renee, is to provide positive and optimistic news about Belize. It's not political, it's not a newspaper. We just speak about good things about Belize. Because if you want to look, you'll find the bad. Yes. And if you really want to look, you'll find the good. So why not just focus on the good? Because there's a lot of good that has been happening in Belize. And there's a lot of things that Belizeans want to hear about. And, if they turn on ordinarily the news, it's all bad. So I think that we have fulfilled that mission. And also Belizeans here are so nostalgic about their country.
I sensed that when I interviewed among them. Everybody is longing to get back to Belize or go back at least to visit or something.
And I am one of them. When I left Belize, I took Belize in my heart. And I think that that's the case with all Belizeans that leave, that they take Belize in their heart. And I saw that when we hosted the See and Taste Belize festival in Florida. We had two festivals, and we didn't have a budget for advertising, so I put it on the Facebook, and the whole concept was to bring chefs, artists, and music to Florida, so that my initial idea was to have, tourists go and see it, to introduce them to Belize. We didn't have a budget to advertise to the tourists. What ended up happening was, which was wonderful, we got over 1,000 Belizeans coming to the festival. And it was just by Facebook, the boosting of the ads. And they came, and I saw Belizeans that probably hadn't been to Belize in 20, 30 years. And they had their bellykin in one hand. In fact, we have a picture with this gentleman. He had like about 4 bellikins, and he hadn't been to Belize in 35 years. And panades, and we had chefs that took Belizean cuisine to another level. It wasn't just the black dinner or the rice and beans on a plate. Their presentation of our cuisine was just amazing. And I think of Jamaica, how Jamaica is such a tiny island, and the jerk chicken is known around the world. And Bob Marley is, we don't have to say. And yet Belize has, I believe, the most amazing food. I really do. Because we are multicultural, and it's so rich in the different peoples and the way they prepare the different foods and the seasoning for each culture, that it makes us very unique.
I agree with you.
Why is it that we're not on the world platform with our cuisine? And I would love to see that happen one day.
Well, dreams do become real if we work at them and if we continue holding on to them, but taking action as well as right?
Action, yes.
I will take action.
When we come back from this break, we will wrap up our conversation. Sylvester speaks of the work being done to engage Belizeans in the diaspora as much as possible.
But what is the National Gas Company really? And how does it acquire transparently priced supplies of liquefied petroleum gas for the people of this country?
First of all, there was a new law written to regulate the national gas company. The process starts with open and transparent tendering, where LPG companies, Belizean or foreign, can compete to supply the country of Belize with liquefied petroleum gas. Once the supply agreement has been concluded and delivery details agreed, marine gas carriers arrive to offload well over 1 million gallons of LPG on a single stop. Prior to offloading the ship, LPG is quality checked by an independent fuel auditing third party to ensure that the quality being received is acceptable for use in the country of Belize. With the modern storage infrastructure installed by the National Gas Company, Belize has more than 1.6 million gallons of LPG storage available. This volume provides the country more than the monthly national consumption, thereby providing a crucial buffer in this era of climate change and supply disruptions.
The National Gas Company of Belize, fueling Belize forward.
Since 2008, the Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust has created opportunities for Belizeans to develop themselves and their communities. The Trust employs tools that are intuitive, collaborative, and accessible so that every Belizean is empowered to achieve their full potential. Over 200,000 Belizeans have been impacted because of our various initiatives. The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, empowering Belizeans of today to create the Belize of tomorrow.
We are Barry, offering you great products, good service, and of course, the lowest prices in the entire country. Visit us in Belize City, Belmopan, San Ignacio Cayo, Orange, and now in San Pedro, La Isla Bonita. Barry. Get more? Be less.
Shell V-Power, with 3 times more cleaning and friction-reducing molecules. Go well! Go Shell!
It don't matter what part of the jewel they come from.
The challenges of not having an office, you overcame those challenges.
Yes.
How did you manage to finally establish an office and, put the pieces together and move on?
By sheer effort and action that the ministry at the time started seeing that it was a one-man show for a long time, Ray. I was manning the office by myself, and but yet we were growing in the services that we were doing, and so the ministry acknowledged that and said, Janine, we need to really upgrade the office and start doing passports. And I completely supported that because Florida, the diaspora in Florida is substantial. We don't know the exact numbers, but it's substantial. And
there was a consul before you, right? Another consul before you who was Miss Stephanie Sylvestre.
Yes. Yes, she's great. Yeah. So, it just, the times are very different, and we had to grow, we had to meet up to the demands, and today we service not only Florida, we service the Carolinas, we service, Georgia, people even from New York, Washington, D.C. come to Florida because the offices after COVID were really not functioning. Yeah. And Florida continued to function even during COVID, Renee. We had our offices closed because we were mandated to do so. Florida was shut down. But we put all the calls through our cell phones, and we were taking appointments for when we opened up in October. And so we were fully booked, and we continue to be fully booked because New York hasn't opened yet.
So what are some of the things you do as honorary consul? You know, I get the impression that you even facilitate passports. Well, you tell me.
Well, the consular work is extensive. We do passports, we do emergency travel documents, we do IDs, and again, not all the missions and consulates do IDs, and it's important because this helps a Belizean that's undocumented be able to open a bank account and to do their business in their state. So it's an important service. And we also handle detainee cases. When a Belizean is detained, we handle that. So the consular work is quite substantial. And again, like I said, we're picking up the work that is not happening in other areas.
Now, having been consul for honorary consul for so long, do you think it's time that, and listening to the amount of work that you say that you do as an honorary consul, that's more than an average honorary consul or consulate would do, right? Or be required to do. How do you cope with all of that? Because I think you're still working, right?
Yes.
All right.
I only have 2 staff members, and they are just amazing. Tracy and Daniela, they do miracles. Those 2 girls, because like I said, we pick up the flap from other areas that weren't functioning because of COVID or whatever, and we make our motto is that any Belizean that walks into the consulate has to feel like they're in Belize, and they have to feel like they're at home and welcomed. And it doesn't matter if they're red or blue or yellow or green, it doesn't matter. Everybody gets VIP service. And that's something that I have imparted on all staff that have worked at the consulate, no matter from the very beginning. And I think that Belizeans do feel, from the feedback that we have received, that they feel that Florida is doing an amazing job to make them feel that way. And they feel protected, which is what they should feel like, for Belizeans that are working on getting their papers done. We are there to protect them, not expose them.
Now, you started off, you said, at your home, in your office at home.
Well, it was a real estate office.
Your real estate office. Yes. You started off at your real estate office. Yes. And now the way you talk to me or listening to you, it sounds like you have proper offices, or at least some sort of semblance of proper offices. How did that turnaround happen?
Well, like I said, the work was acknowledged by the ministry, and they wanted to.
They rent the building?
Yes, yes.
The ministry rents the building that you occupy.
The building.
Okay.
So we moved twice since the real estate office that I had. We have moved twice, and now we're in it's not a huge location, but it fits our needs. And we have a passport office dedicated to doing passports. We have a little waiting room and an area for the 2 staff and an office for the honorary consul. But like I was telling you, Renee, it has grown substantially since I was appointed in 2009, and it really we had to meet the demands, but that meant growing at a fairly fast level and pace.
Moving around, I could draw my own conclusions, and talking to Belizeans, and everyone wants the relationship with Belize strengthened, and like we pointed out before, an honorary consul does not necessarily have the consular duties as full-time because they have to have a job. They are not paid. Right. And we should point that out, that an honorary consul is not paid a salary, while a full-time consul general will be paid a salary. That's right. And will be able to dedicate 24 hours to being to consular duties.
It is a full-time job. And I think a lot more could be done with the diaspora part of it. And I applaud the Prime Minister for creating for the first time, I believe, a diaspora arm in the Ministry of Tourism, because it's just such an important ministry. Alone, the remittances were $188 million.
$188 million a year are remitted by Belizeans in the U.S. back to Belize. That's substantial.
It's nothing to sneeze at. So it's a untapped market. It shows that Belizeans remain connected to Belize. In spite of whatever policies are going on, they care about their country, they care about their families, and they deserve that attention. So I applaud the Prime Minister, and Minister Mala is doing a fantastic job in his policies in trying to reach that goal, to bring Belizeans back to whatever way, through visiting or investing. Belizeans are interested in their country.
They want to feel a part of Belize and not as all those Belizeans over there, you know. They want to feel like, okay, yeah, I have a stake in what happens in Belize. Absolutely. And that's the impression I've gotten to by speaking with several Belizeans out here in the Miami area.
Yes, Renee.
I would hope that that's taken seriously into consideration, and apparently it is being taken seriously into consideration, because you're right, it's the first time that we have seen a Ministry of Tourism and Diaspora Relations, which is basically a very good move, and it's a good move to tie it into tourism as well. So, you know, let's hope it goes somewhere this time.
We have to have faith that it will go, and we have to do our part too. You know, we can't just leave it to the ministry. We have to ask them, what is it that they need? How can we help? And the fact that you are here, Renee, is testimony to the fact that you believe that it's important. It is important. And we shouldn't leave this after we walk away from today as just an interview. We see what we can do to help.
We got to help strengthen those ties. You know, I could just imagine, for example, Troy Gabb and myself, we do the morning show, and we keep saying, what if there was a sewing factory on the south side of Belize City, where you have maybe 500 or 600 Belizeans sewing uniforms for the police, for the government, other government departments, for the BDF, etc., and aim for school children, you know, just putting out the uniforms, right? Gainfully employed, right? That would go a long way, and I could see maybe Belizeans over here channeling their efforts to create such an entity. You know, and that's just something I'm throwing out there for whatever it's worth.
That is a fantastic idea, Renee, because I think that what is lacking is picking up the children at an early age in school and giving them something else to look forward to, something else to do, some mentoring, some before they're snatched up by the bad guys. And I think we would have a different society if we focus on the youth. And this project you're speaking about is for the youth, but I think that it could be expanded into other things.
Because once the parents have employment, you know, they'll take care of their children, you know, and it would change a lot, I think, you know. Now, Janine Sylvestre, Honorary Consul of Belize to Florida, right? What's next for Janine as far as your vision of your future is concerned?
I have a strong faith in God that He will lead me the way. He will open the doors that need to be open, and He will close the doors that need to be closed. And I'm completely open to whatever His will is. But whatever it is, I hope that I'm always connected to Belize. And I shouldn't say I hope. I will ensure that I'm connected to Belize, whether I'm in Belize or not. It will definitely involve Belize in some way.
One of the things I've noted being here and talking to my fellow Belizeans in the area is the love they all share for our beloved country, Belize. There's not been a person I've spoken to who has not told me about that they don't love Belize, or they don't want to go back to Belize, or they don't want to have ties with Belize or anything like that. What are your thoughts about love of country and how much we should love our country, and about the love that the Belizeans here have for our country?
I think it's without saying, there are no words to describe how important that is, Renee. It's very important, Renee. Really, it's been the theme of our chat today, patriotism. And even though Belizeans left Belize, they didn't leave Belize behind. Belize is still in their thoughts and their dreams and their hopes. And I know so many Belizeans that would love to come back, and why not? Why not help pave the way for them? There's a lot of frustrations with dealing with land issues, with dealing with the banking, and so I believe that the plan by Minister Mala is to really help them make it easier to come back home, because we could make it easier for them to come back.
And that's the whole idea, I think.
That's the idea.
So that you can feel that unity, that common bond with Belizeans at home and Belizeans abroad, that a Belizean can feel, I'm a Belizean. It doesn't matter when I'm at home or abroad, but I'm a Belizean, and I feel proud to be a Belizean because we share one common thing, our love of country.
Love of country and memories. Memories they left behind. And that's why the nostalgia is so strong amongst Belizeans that have left their country. And they're no less patriotic than the Belizeans who are in Belize.
So it's all about love, right?
It's all about love.
Yeah. And so we say, you know what we say, right? We say, Belize and beyond, thanks for choosing love. Belize Watch. Knowledge of the past, impacting the present, building the future.
Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewel they come from. You that you and me that me. But guess what?